Welcome back to the week that was with Todd and Jared, Jared and the Bear, Todd and the Pod. All of those names work. We're getting there. How you doing? Beautiful day, August 5th. It's nice and sunny in Philly. It's probably nice and sunny in North Carolina too, I'm guessing.
It certainly is.
Let's get right into it. I feel like I'm not gonna bash. I guess it's kind of bashing. I fucking hate Cuomo.
Boy.
Yeah, I hate him.
I almost forgot about all this.
I've hated him for years. I actually didn't really like. I think my girlfriend in college had an assignment about his dad, and his dad was a fraudster and not a good guy. And I remembered hearing about him. Didn't think he's a good guy. Then when Cuomo came to power, I kind of like assumed, hey, he's probably going to be like his dad, corrupt, doing fraud, all of that. And then last year with coronavirus, I honestly started getting a little bit annoyed with him just based on how much he was bashing Trump and getting all these people to go happy and be like, yay, bash Trump, but literally didn't do anything good for the pandemic. In fact, he actually killed a lot of people that probably wouldn't have been killed if there was someone else in power making different decisions. And I'm from New York. A lot of my friends are from New York and live in New York. Last year, all anyone did was praise Cuomo non-stop. He's the best. People wanted him to run for president. They were saying, take down Biden's nomination. We want Cuomo instead. Now the allegations about the women last year, and people still not listening. They're like, yeah, whatever. Now it's been confirmed these people are legit. They're credible. And people on the left still don't seem to like mind so much. He is, I wouldn't say as bad as Trump, but he's on his level.
Look, in terms of like being a vulgar, disgusting human, I think Trump might still win that competition.
Trump's pretty good at that.
In terms of someone who loves himself and is a complete and utter raging narcissist, I think they're about tied.
Yeah.
And I think, there's a couple things that really struck me about this whole thing, and that, the sexual harassment allegations and possibly even sexual assault in the case of him groping an executive assistant. The thing that is so annoying and frustrating, it's like, the nursing home scandal that you sort of referenced with them putting infected patients, forcing them back into nursing homes and leading to lots of deaths, and then them trying to cover up and conceal the number of deaths. That investigation is seemingly not going to be the one that takes him down, where a whole lot of people died. And I'm not going to minimize what he did to these women, but like, I feel like as a society, we need to step back and realize like, what does it mean when you're less upset and less likely to want someone out of power for policies that possibly killed a lot of people, and then lying about it and trying to obscure it. Look, we didn't know what was going on. If they had thought that policy was good and then they came out and were like, oops, this was a terrible idea. Here's how many people died.
Right.
This is awful. We have learned. We're now changing. I wouldn't even criticize it because everyone was acting.
They denied it. They
Exactly.
denied it and pretended like they did the right thing.
Yes, exactly. And the thing with Cuomo is like this, there still is an active investigation in the state about the nursing home stuff. The DOJ at the federal level dropped the investigation into him, which I find weird and I don't like it, but as long as the state's still going after him, fine. He also is under investigation for possibly misusing resources to basically making his staff help write his book and edit his book. That was the most insane thing ever. But in having them help write his book and edit the book while they were on the clock being paid by the taxpayers, it's just gross. And, and again, I feel like I've brought this up multiple times when we've talked, but it's this celebrification of politicians. I mean, the thing that is also so ironic now is you're familiar with the term Cuomo-sexual. Do you remember when that was getting kicked around?
No, I don't.
So it was because people loved Cuomo so much, and he was America's governor, and he was the president and leader we needed, that people started being like, well, I'm a Cuomo-sexual,
Yeah, well, and that just reminded me, people started saying how cool he was for having his nipples pierced. Why do we know his nipples are pierced? Like, so why is that even known?
I can explain that. It actually,
because you could see it in the press conference. So, but like, that's inappropriate.
apparently the story is, at least from the people that are trying to explain it, is that it was not nipple piercings. It was, he was wearing a very thin shirt and sort of nipping through. And so they put like pieces of tape over his nips. And it's like, bro, you could also just wear an undershirt, you know,
Yeah.
like a normal
Ri-
guy.
Ridiculous. And then, well, I'm a little bit upset too. One, why isn't everyone in New York calling for him to resign? Like they were
Well,
quick
they
to.
are. You're starting to.
They're
That
starting
is
to, but I want to see people more vocal and really get him out. Show that they actually care, not pretend like nothing really happened. And then something else that bothers me, not really illegal, but definitely messed up. When your brother is one of the biggest news sources in the country,
Yep.
that's messed up. He shouldn't be allowed to talk about anything, Cuomo. He probably shouldn't even be on the news until Cuomo is out of the news or something.
Well,
It's a complete it's not right. You shouldn't have that.
Well, and I don't know if you heard this when it came out, but Chris Cuomo basically had to apologize, or CNN got some egg on his face, because I don't think Chris Cuomo even really apologized for it. He apparently was part of his like PR team helping him figure out how to manage the scandal around the sexual abuse and sexual harassment and sexual assault allegations. He, you know, someone who has an inside view into media, obviously has lots of connections, should not be on CNN claiming to be just like an unbiased reporter or someone that's going to give it to you straight, while at the same time helping his creepy narcissistic brother strategize for, okay, like how do we deflect this, how do we tamp these down. I mean, Cuomo, even their allegations, and I don't know the details of it, but that they were basically kicking around, you know, how can we discredit some of these women, what are things we can put out in the press that, and the idea that Chris Cuomo sat there and probably like, oh, well, there's no way you could do that. That would be scummy. He was probably like, yeah, I bet some of these women were whores. Let's try to figure out what they did in the past, or say they hit on you. Because it's like, because that's the standard playbook. You see it all the time on the right and the left. I mean, Hillary Clinton famously said when, you know, the accusers were coming out of the woodwork against Bill, that, you know, a lot of things will come out if you drag a dollar bill through like a trailer park in Arkansas or whatever it is. Basically, like, oh, well, these women they're poor white trash. Why should we even be listening to them? It's disgusting.
Right.
And it's also just disingenuous to see, and super hypocritical, because people in politics only seem to care about sexual harassment or assault accusers when it's people on the other side. So you see right-wing people now coming out of the woodwork and being all upset about this, that previously were trying to explain away what Trump had done or the Kavanaugh allegations. And the people on the left, you know, the Republicans sucked for doing it, but the Democrats suck more in my case, because they're the ones who take this stance of being the defenders of women and believe all women. And, you know, even hints of allegations that show to possibly be true are enough to have someone resign, or to, you know, to have their life ruined. So it's gross all the way around. And the saddest thing, the only person
who I think I'm blanking on the word, but who is still like legit in my eyes is Al Franken. Because he didn't even do anything too bad, and he was like, you know what, I'll step down, because if people are upset, I'll step down. And that's what most politicians should do. Put the ego to the side. And Cuomo, right when everyone's upset, say, you know what, I disagree, I don't think I did wrong, but I'm gonna put myself I'm gonna step down because the state needs to focus on COVID or leadership or whatever.
No, but you know, the thing is though that, and this is what I think politicians everywhere, they'll never thank him publicly, but Donald Trump really showed that basically taking an F you, I'm not apologizing approach and just writing things out works. Because one, it shows a knowledge that in general, the typical American news consumer or person who's paying attention has an attention span of, about 12 hours. So these things just go away. I mean, look, you had Governor Blackface in Virginia, who basically was like, well, I was either the guy in blackface or I was wearing the Klan hood. I can't even remember which, because I used to do this so much. And I'm like, I'm sorry, it was a different time. And look, he's writing it out and he's popular, I think. And so, because that's the most effed up part about this whole thing, is that the odds of Cuomo winning re-election are possibly like 50-50. Like he might actually win a re-election.
That's why he's still in the running, because he thinks he still has a chance. He wouldn't be running if he didn't, which is it's ridiculous. But let's hear from yours. We went a little bit over that one. We'll cut from my next one.
Yes,
I'm sure.
we can keep this one short because we've been talking about it for a little bit, but the Biden administration with the CDC just announced that they would be getting the CDC to extend the eviction moratorium again after it lapsed this past weekend on Saturday for 60 days. Now, people might be scratching their head if they're paying attention to this because the Supreme Court basically came out and said the CDC can't do it. If
Right.
you want an eviction moratorium, Congress has to do something, like the way our government is supposed to function, where we have co-equal branches that the legislature legislates, the executive branch enforces, just the judicial branch reviews things and makes sure it's all by the book. And basically the Biden administration, and Joe Biden in his statement basically came out and was like, well, I'm pretty sure this is unconstitutional, but hopefully by the time it gets litigated in court, it will help some people, some people will get helped by this. And the thing that's frustrating is that we've allocated money for this and the states have just been garbage at getting it out, which is shocking to no one who pays attention because the government is basically terrible at everything they do. And obviously when they've got this giant pile of money, I'm sure one of the reasons they're being really slow about it is people are figuring out, okay, well, how do I get my cut off the top, or how do I make sure that my friends get paid first? And it's just disgusting. And it's funny because I read an article about this and someone brought up that this is a really terrible precedent to set because in the future, when we have another Republican president, I know people like to think that, their political party will rule forever and for always.
Yeah.
But it's not. And, a lot of bombs can get dropped in a period of time when the Supreme Court says, hey, you can't do this, and before it gets relitigated. A lot of people can be thrown in jail for some bullshit law or some executive order that doesn't pass constitutional muster before it gets struck down again. Like, if you don't think that this will get used and abused by future presidents in the future, you are not paying attention. And it's actually, it's interesting because I remember back in history, we all remember the Trail of Tears, terrible incident. I'm 99% sure it was Andrew Jackson that did it. And when he was making his plans, the Supreme Court said, hey, you can't do this. And guess what? He did it anyways. And I believe the statement he made was, the Supreme Court has made their ruling, now they can try to enforce it. Which is very interesting because it basically was just spitting in the face of our, co-equal branches of government and saying, hey, the Supreme Court doesn't have an enforcement arm. You guys can't do anything about it. Make all the rulings you want, but I'm still going to do it. And, that was a terrible example of executive power run wild. And while this one is not nearly as bad in terms of the atrocity level of it, it's still not good. And it's in the same vein. And it's just very disappointing.
What do you think is gonna come of it? What do you what are some possibilities you see?
I think within a week, some state attorney general is going to find a friendly judge and throw it and go for an injunction and get it shut down. So look, I think this will probably stand for another 10, 15 days. There's not a chance in hell that Congress is going to pass another eviction moratorium. Too many of them get their pockets lined by real estate developers and people in that industry. And frankly, at some point it has to come to an end. I'm sorry.
Right. Yeah, because it looks like COVID is coming for round 8 next month. So we can't just have moratoriums forever because it looks like we're gonna have COVID for a time being.
Yes, I'm just disappointed in all of that, and it's just super dysfunctional. It just makes me want to face palm and shake my head. So what do you got next?
I feel that. Well, I kind of got 2 things, both related to what you just said. They both kind of have to do with what you said. So I'm kind of gonna mention both of them, and we'll see which one you want to gravitate and talk about. So first one is kind of about Delta variant. It seems like I feel like this winter is going to be worse than last winter. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like too many good things are going to come. It seems like more variants are possible. It seems like I don't even know. But one thing I just wanted to mention was the Delta or the COVID passport that's now in New York, that you need a vaccine to go into bars, restaurants. Super interesting development. I'm definitely not for it. I'm not 100% against it. That's a wild policy. I don't know. I'm for the vaccine overall, but forcing it like that seems a little nuts. My other thing I wanted to bring up though, what you were talking about was the moratorium, which is COVID related, but also gets me thinking of the different state policies. And I think I've mentioned to you before, I think we've already started the cold civil war. And I think that the it's going to ante up a little bit in the coming months and winter. And I think a big reason for that is going to be with this eviction moratorium, and with COVID Delta coming back. I just feel like states are going to start making their own rules, and they're going to start kind of ruling amongst states. Whereas I could very well see people in New York saying you're not allowed to come from Florida, people from Florida saying you're not allowed to come from the Northeast, and a lot of division beginning from that. And
Absolutely. And I
it'll
think
be interesting.
I definitely want to keep our eye on that, but I'd rather talk about the first thing you brought up, because it's funny because the stereotype of the person who isn't getting vaccinated is dumb white Republican, MAGA hat wearing idiot mouth breather. And you know what? Yes, a large portion of those people are not getting vaxxed. Completely true. Right. However, in places like New York, the majority of people, or a very large portion of the people that aren't getting vaccinated, are low income, usually minorities. So what this is going to be doing, sometimes it's because these people have had really shitty experiences with our healthcare system, where we know for a fact that poor people and people of color do receive different treatment, sort of styles of treatment, and are sometimes sort of not given the same level of care as white people, or not given the same level of agency in terms of their healthcare. Some people just can't get childcare to go out and get a shot. Some people can't afford to miss work in case the shot gives them crazy side effects, which we know happens. I mean, shit, the J&J really messed me up for about 12 hours when I got mine. And I'm lucky that I sort of work for myself and from home, so I was able to take it easy that morning. But I would have felt like shit, or possibly called out, if I had to like go in and actually punch a clock somewhere. And so what this is going to do is, in New York, you're going to see that once this goes into effect, it's going to disproportionately impact poor people, Hispanics, other people of color. And it's going to be really interesting to see how a super liberal progressive city handles the fact that their vaccine segregation is leading to higher levels of basically racial segregation as well. So I think it's funny to see how they handle or address that.
I think that'll be interesting. I also think New York in general is just a pretty dirty place because it's so congested, where I feel like they're gonna still have outbreaks just because of how many people are there and how close together they are. And then lastly, New York, as liberal as they are, they're super rich, and rich people cheat. A lot of the people who say they have the vaccine don't have the vaccine. And now that you're telling people that they need a vaccine to go to a restaurant, those rich people are buying that vaccine card to be able to go to the restaurant. If they didn't want to get the vaccine, they're still not getting the vaccine, and they're still going to do everything that they want to do.
I am not that good with Photoshop, but I guarantee you I could probably spin up a fake vaccine card within an hour.
We have a mutual contact who has thousands of them for sale, actually.
Jesus Christ, maybe we don't say that on the pod. Can you just lay down like a long bleep on that?
I said a mutual contact. I don't know much more about it. But yeah, and
I have no idea who you're talking about, just for the record, or for the FBI.
I'll tell you after, but supposedly he had no sales until this week, and this week spiked, sales are spiking. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's because of all of the talk of passports and people being like, shit, like, looks like I really need one to do stuff. So what are they doing? They're buying fake ones. That's how people operate. If someone didn't want the vaccine, this isn't going to make them get it. This is going to make them find a way around it, unfortunately.
And look, I think I saw that. I think the FDA is going to have full approval, like full formal approval of the vaccine in September, which I do think we will see a big surge of the people that are holdouts. You're going to see an increase, and hopefully that helps move the needle with a lot of people. But look, I think people should get the vaccine. I have the vaccine. Everyone I know has the vaccine. And
I think by the fall, we're going to have the Phi Epsilon Tau variant, and we're going to have to get 5 more vaccines.
I swear to God, I saw somewhere, and I didn't dig into it. I'm just frankly tired of reading about coronavirus stuff, but I swear I saw an Epsilon variant mentioned somewhere.
No, dude, there is. There's all of them, man.
Like it, yeah. All right.
Lambda's peeking through now, but let's hear yours. Let's.
All right. So let's lighten it up a little bit. I don't know if you spend much time on Reddit, but there are these great subreddits where it's like videos of people freaking out and like being just crazy in public. And I've been loving them for the last like year and a half. Lots of footage around like the riots and protests happening and insanity, and then also lots of like Karen videos. And the thing that I've noticed is there has definitely been an increase on people doing crazy shit on airplanes. And I don't know if it's sort of a confirmation bias of just now that everyone has phones and everyone wants to record this stuff that we're seeing more of it, but like
No,
it
no,
has to be happening more often.
there's an uptick. There's a definite uptick. I don't know why. I think people are just not nice these days and like don't have patience. But there's definitely an uptick. Are you talking about the one that was in Philly?
No, I'm talking about. See, exactly. We're both thinking of different incidents, but I saw that one too. The one I was thinking about.
He got taped to his chair.
Well, oh no, well, we might be talking about the same one. I don't know. I don't know where the flight was going, but it was this kid. He was in like an orange shirt. I think he was drunk. He allegedly like groped a flight attendant, and then started like they used packing tape to tape him to his chair while he's screaming about how like
his mom's rich.
Don't mess with me. My parents are worth $2 million. Blah blah blah. And then the best part, I saw a second video, and I'm sure more is going to come out because there's so many people that were recording it. But he just kept like screaming and yelling. So another flight attendant came up and basically duct taped around his face and mouth, and it was hilarious.
Yeah,
and
that was definitely hilarious.
These people are just like, look, I'm here for it. And the only thing is, I don't want it to happen on my flight, because I don't want to be something where it's like, oh, we have to divert to Denver in order to like drop this guy off and put him in airport jail or like whatever. But like, I would love it if they were allowed to like beat these people unconscious, because it's like, if you're going to be this much of an antisocial asshole, like you deserve a beating.
So here's a funny story. I wasn't that bad, but I was actually removed from a plane once because it wasn't.
This is America. What's going on?
Yeah,
Wait,
I was coming from Poland, seeing like the concentration camp. So it was definitely like probably in a pretty depressed mood. And then basically, I was 20 years old. They gave free alcohol on international flights, so I got wasted, and then ended up just getting in this argument with this girl from UPenn about like what we had just did and saw, and it just got into it got raised voices, and then the attendants came over and they're like, you need to sit over here, and I basically had to sit with the flight attendants.
That's hilarious. It's like, well, everything took a turn when the girl was like, well, Hitler had some good ideas. And you're like,
I know someone who said that. Sorry, they're good engineers or something. But yeah, no, the flights are interesting. Here's what I have to say about it, and I'm sure my opinion is not a popular one. I don't know why anyone's flying.
Wait, in what sense? Because like
why are we all traveling? Half the country is poor. The other half of the country like has no jobs. The other half of the country is sick. The whole world is still in a pandemic. It's only America that had like a little bit of a peak of what it was going to be like without COVID. The rest of the world still has it. Why are we so quick to travel? I know people who went to Florida, Italy, Spain, Portugal, France, Mexico, literally all those places. And now I'd have to think probably for a few more. Guess what? Those people spread COVID to all of those places. And now COVID is coming back from all of those places, new strains, new variants. Why can't we just take a little bit of time to do nothing? Because guess what, too? The person who went to Spain probably didn't have that much fun. The person who went to Italy probably didn't have much fun. They just want to do it, in my opinion, to brag that they went to Italy and to do something that no one else did. How about we all just chill for a little and wait for things to really get better so we don't keep fucking it up again?
Well, I would agree with you and say you're right, but that would make me a massive hypocrite because I'm flying to Vegas in 3 weeks for a conference, and
there's nothing wrong with it. And I understand people fly. Like, I understand people have to fly sometimes for work, whatever. But I just feel like people can do it a little bit less than usual, at least. And it's like people, like I saw someone on Facebook, I forget who, saying like how the airport took 4 hours for them to like board their plane. Guess what? I don't give a fuck. You're flying a plane. You are privileged. You're going somewhere dope. You're doing awesome things. I don't want to hear that it took 4 hours. The world is going through a pandemic. There's people who literally in Australia, you like haven't been allowed outside for
I
like
know, they're nuts.
for like a year. It's like waiting 4 hours to go on a plane is not that bad. We have it too good.
Just before we close, and because I just saw this, there was a great video I saw. So apparently in Australia, if you're driving with someone else and you're both not wearing masks, that's probable cause to pull you over.
No
So
way.
these guys got pulled over because they had their masks down. And I'm assuming the guy was lying, but he starts recording the cop, and the guy is like, well, it's okay that we don't have our masks on because this guy's my gay lover and we're in a pod together. And the cop like obviously doesn't believe it. He's like, oh, how do you want me to prove it? You want me to have him drop his trousers and I'll suck his dick right now? And it's all just in like Australian accents. And the guy is
this is real?
Yes, 100%. And I'll find the video and send it to you. But it's hilarious because the cop probably obviously knows that it's bullshit, but at the same time he can't be like, well, you don't look gay, because you can't say things like that. And like,
yeah.
And the guy is just being super graphic about it, being like, hey, want me to give him a hand job right next to you? He's like, want me to prove it? Like,
that's amazing.
And the cop ends up just like shaking his head and walking away. But it was just great. And these ridiculous rules breed ridiculous responses, and none of this is really shocking to me. But like I said with the airplane freakouts, like I'm here for it. I'm here to watch it. I laugh. It's great, and I will take this as a interesting side benefit of an otherwise terrible pandemic.
Yeah, I'll agree with you, and I will be there laughing as well. But I'll also have a little bit of empathy that it's funny, but these people are definitely going through it. And
this has been great.
Yeah, great time. I love the new format. Anyone who's listening, let us know what you guys think of the new format. And again, we're gonna have some guests on soon, so please let us know if you'd like to be on. As always, have a great rest of the day. Todd, enjoy the lake, and I'll talk to you next week.